Hi, I'm Mira and I'm a recovering perfectionist. If you too identify as a perfectionist, then stick around because I've got a lot of things to talk with you about and I really truly hope that it's going to be helpful for you. If you do identify or you have some awareness that you may have perfectionistic tendencies, what does this look like? It can look like overdoing, overworking, overachieving, or conversely, this pattern in our minds that tells us we either have to do it perfectly or not at all. We can end up in paralysis. Oh my God, that's just too hard. I don't even want to face it. On the surface in our lives, it can show up looking like being rushed and having a sense of pressure all the time and never feeling good enough about who we are and what we're doing. It's exhausting. If you identify with any of these things, like I said, stick around. Let's explore this together. And I'm going to, in this video, talk about the 3 contributing factors to perfectionism and then 3 tools that we can use to work to overcoming and reducing perfectionism in our lives, giving us more joy, more freedom, more presence, more fulfillment. Welcome to my channel. I am Mira. I am an embodiment coach, a certified MBA and a yoga teacher. And I serve creative, ambitious women who have big dreams, fiery hearts, and are tired of self-sabotage and playing small in their lives. I help these women make feeling the fear and doing it anyway a reality. Together we'll dig deep and aim high. So, let's get started. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're interested in this kind of content, please let me know. Introduce yourself down in the comments below. And also, if you want to have more of these types of conversations with me, I'd love to let you know when I'm coming on to talk through more stuff. So hit the subscribe button. If you want to get the notifications, hit the bell. So what is perfectionism? As I started to research this more over the last 20 years, I came across a wonderful type of therapy and a type of a model for this called schema therapy. And schema therapy has in it something called unrelenting standards. And I just believe unrelenting standards and perfectionism are like this. And how do they manifest? Maybe you relate to some of these. An incapacity to switch off and relax. Easily getting irritated or annoyed by things. No matter what you do, you just feel like it's not good enough. No matter how much you do or how much you are doing, you feel like there's not enough time to get everything done. Maybe you turn to alcohol or drugs as the only solution to soothe that intensity going on in your body and mind, that sense of stress and anxiety that's constantly driving you to try and do more things. Conversely, as we talked about in the beginning, maybe you find that that pressure makes you just want to give it all up and go, you know what, screw it, I'm not doing any of it. Or you're just stuck in so much fear that it's paralyzing. You do want to, but looking at those unrelenting, and listen to that keyword, unrelenting standards, makes you freeze and you just stand there going, it'd be nice maybe to do that thing one day. So a couple of the underlying things that drive these behaviors, I love to practice and to assist people in remembering that whatever we're doing, whatever's showing up in our lives that maybe doesn't look like it's serving us all that well, is trying to. So there is an underlying positive intent in all of these quote-unquote dysfunctional behaviors. The 2 that I think really manifest with perfectionism is the reduction of anxiety related to the reduction, the desire to prove or the need to prove and get a sense of worth by what we do. And the anxiety is related to the fact that we don't have a strong and solid sense of self-worth internally, and the only way we've learned to get that is by achieving things. And so if we're not achieving, we're not getting our source, our supply of self-worth, and we have that anxiety. So at least in doing something, we're working towards it. There's also a whole biochemical process that goes on through workaholism in particular, where we tweak our adrenals and we tweak our caffeine and we tweak our nervous system just the right amounts to actually kind of stay numb. It's a bit, that one lands for me when I remember that state of being. So what we need to do, if we're seeing that there are all these behaviors going on that are serving a purpose, trying to reduce anxiety and trying to give us a sense of self-worth, what do we need to do? We need to reverse engineer this a little bit. So when I first started looking deeply at perfectionism in my own life, this is a long time ago now, and I came across schema therapy, I was delighted. I got that initial drop, that sense of, I feel understood, I feel seen, I understand my problem. But after a while, for myself, I started to find that the problem was being described in great detail and really effectively, but I wasn't being given options for a real and solid and systematic solution. So I started to tease it out and have a look at the components and the elements. What are we aiming to do? Reduce anxiety, increase our worth, and the third thing we need to do that will help with both of these is adjust our standards. So the first thing, if you have anxiety or you notice that you're what we call dysregulated, so you're rushing and you're not present, and it creates all this frustration, perhaps with your family or your friends or yourself, that you're just not getting the full juice out of life because you're rushing and running and trying to achieve and prove yourself and never feeling good enough anyway, the first thing to do is to calm the nervous system. So we use tools of regulation, because what's happening is that if we don't feel worthy, we also don't feel safe in the world. And we need to find an embodied, this is why I call my method embodied coaching, because we need to find an embodied method to bring us back to, within our own being, a sense of safety in the world. Okay, because our nervous system is constantly scanning inside for cues, what's going on. This is called neuroception. Look into polyvagal theory if you're interested in this. And scanning outside for signs of threat, and there's a dynamic going on between these. So we need to find some simple method of just calming our nervous systems. And as humans, we've been doing this for millennia. There are plenty of embodied practices, and everybody has the one that they're more drawn to. It might be going for a run, it might be learning Tai Chi, it might be doing yoga. My recommendation with all of these, it might be deep breathing, is that you find a way to do it in a small fashion that takes 30 to 60 seconds maximum, where if you're at work, you can just toddle off into the bathroom or something and practice it. Or even in a conversation, you might be able to be listening for a moment, or you're at a meeting and you listen, and then my type of practice comes from yoga and mindfulness. I might just notice that my belly's tight and soften that and take a breath. Something as simple as that. My other recommendation is that you do it regularly before you even need it. So if you're dotting your day, and my system is to put a reminder on my phone, and this is what my clients practice as well, 5 times a day, get a reminder, reset the nervous system, just check in and bring it to a more regulated position. From there, everything we do comes from a more balanced and less reactive state. Many people are familiar, fight, flight, etc. We're in that mode, which essentially with workaholism and perfectionism, you're in that sympathetic arousal all the time, and it's very wearing on your system. So another effect of this, and this was certainly the truth for me many years ago when I got to stage 2 adrenal fatigue, is an impact on your health and well-being and on your body and on your physiology. So if you are able to stay more regulated in your system, the second thing we need to do is learning how to love and validate who we are, not just what we do. So for many of us, the issue would have been that we never experienced that as children. We never were given sufficient validation that who you are, what you want, how you are, everything about you and what you feel is okay. We didn't get that message. I'm not here to blame parents. It's really, part of the process to understand these patterns. But however it happened, we got the message that you are not okay. And it got implanted deep down inside our beings. And so the second part of the work, once we're regulated, is to be, and my quick hack, if you like, for it, I don't really believe in hacks with this kind of work because I think it's a long process of reconditioning the nervous system and our thought patterns and our beliefs and our emotional responses and our relationships, and it takes time and gentleness and patience and consistency. But the quickest way I have found, and if you're like me and you've been searching and you've been looking and you're like, well, I do an affirmation, I tell myself, you're wonderful, but then you react to that, is to just let yourself know whatever it is that's happening inside, however you're responding to something. First, validate. It's okay. It's okay that you feel this way. It's a deep self-acceptance practice. It's okay that you want those things. It's okay that you reacted that way. It may not be fully okay and you might need to attend to it later, but that's a different topic for another video. But the fact that it's happened is okay. Essentially what we're doing in this second process is reparenting ourselves, is giving us that experience of validation that we never got sufficiently, that builds that self-worth internally so that we're not looking for things outside of ourselves and our achievements to determine our worth. The third thing that will help is to adjust your standards. And I think part of the reason why we have problems here is because we're driven by that need to try and get self-worth. We're driven by the need that's undefined to some extent of perfectionism. What is it to even do something perfectly? What does that even mean? What does that look like? And so it's not really achievable. It's not achievable. And so we're just setting ourselves up for this constant sense of failure. And what I like to do, it's a little bit of a mindfulness practice. For all of these things, I'm going to say you're going to have to learn some mindfulness. And what does that mean? It means simply being in a non-judgmental perspective towards experiencing what's happening in the present moment. Oh, I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's raining nice and heavy here. With adjusting your standards, I think if we try to think about things too much, although I do recommend journaling as a practice for this one in particular to help you think about where do I trip myself up by setting standards for myself that are so high and unrelenting in every single area that I just can't do it all. And then we set ourselves up for that feeling, etc., and we're in that unrelenting cycle. So you may take some time out at the beginning or the end of the day to reflect, but again, similar to what I said with regulation, where I recommend something small that you can dot through your day. I don't want to tell you what the practice is practice is called, but I'm going to. A friend of mine and I developed this. It's the no fucks given practice. Okay, so I was reading, I'm having a mental blank on his name. I'll pop it down in the subtle art of not giving a fuck. No, totally blanking on the author's name. We'll come back and deal with that later. Hopefully I'm demonstrating here an example of not being perfectionistic as a recovering perfectionist. So he recommends choosing very deliberately and very carefully what to give a fuck about and how much to give a fuck about it. Do you know what? I think it's because I'm not enjoying this word. I've been taking it out of my vocabulary recently, so I'm going to go back to frick. I just feel like I can say that and it doesn't jolt my own nervous system or that risk jolting somebody else's as much. So as you, I'm gonna go to an example here. Say you're getting into your car and there's, I don't know what you eat, but maybe there's some health bar wrappers or there's some McDonald's on the floor or whatever it is. And your first thought is, oh my God, my car's so messy and it's always so freaking messy, and that cycle starts of self-critical thoughts and the expectation that you've got to do something and that internalized sense of pressure. And then it's the same, you walk into your home and there's mess on the counter and it's like, ugh, or your bedroom is untidy and it's, ugh. It's that same experience of not good enough, got to do more, got to have it perfect, comparing yourself to some sort of home and garden magazine image of your house on the inside. And then you go to, maybe you're like me and you're a solopreneur or a business person and you need to make some content or you need to produce a report or whatever it is. And there's constantly this idealized image in your mind, perfection that's not that well defined anyway, that you're striving towards, that you're giving yourself a hard time about not achieving. And then you end up in that procrastination paralysis place, or you end up taking ages to do something and then yes, there's not enough time to do the spread of things that you need to do in your life, and you don't enjoy what you're doing as you do it. So in these moments, take a breath and pause. Think about, how important is this thing to me really? And here's the kicker. If no one else saw it, would it make you happy to have it that clean, that perfect, that whatever? A lot of this is attached to that self-worth dynamic of trying to achieve worth by the opinions of others. So if we knew no one was going to see it, what would make us happy to do and to what level? So for example, with my bedroom, for me, I'll take my bedroom. I'm like, yes, it's important to me whether anyone else sees it or not, that my bedroom is tidy. Do I need it spotless with every spider web and speck of dust removed? Because for some people, that is true. In that context, that's what they need to feel good for themselves, not for anybody else. For me, no. Tidy is sufficient, relatively clean is sufficient. That's what I need to be happy with that area of my life for me, not for anybody else. So, hope this has been helpful. Remember, if you're suffering from perfectionism and you're noticing that it's holding you back from achieving what you want in your life, or it's holding you back from being present and enjoying what you already have in your life, it's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to help you by leading you to this area in your life that's not healed, which is a sense of deep self-value, self-worth. It's a sense of anxiety caused by that not being in place. So if you can turn to yourself with love, with attentiveness, and begin to regulate your nervous system, to learn to validate your experience, to practice doing that for yourself, and to set and adjust your standards in line with who you truly are, you can begin to genuinely and effectively change this pattern. If you'd like more help with any of this, please feel free to come and join us in my Embodied Living Embodied Facebook group. There's a link down in the comments, and here we discuss these issues in much more depth, and we look at how to actually practice and implement some of the tools that I offer and that other people also bring to the table. Hope you have a beautiful and peaceful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.